body and blinded down the center.
Okay, we'll start with this. Unbeaten up-and-comer Makia Kreps to return on All-Star Boxing card October 14th in Niagara Falls. This will be Makia Kreps' second fight this year, her second fight in the year of 2022, her fourth fight overall. Miami, Florida. Tuto Savalas' All-Star Boxing Inc. returns to the beautiful Seneca Resort and Casino in Niagara Falls, New York on Friday, October 14th with their successful series, Seneca Fight Nights. Our winning formula does not change. Supporting the local talent from Western New York is key to our main priority. After two prosperous sold-out shows with exciting matches, we will continue to bring the fans more of the same at one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, Niagara Falls, stated Tuto Savala, president of All-Star Boxing Inc. In one of the main attractions on the card, the Queen of Niagara Falls, Makia Kreps, returns home. The Seneca, appearing in a bantamweight bout scheduled for 6 rounds. In her last fight, May 13th, she overcame a cut in her right eye to stop Kendra Bradley in the 4th round in a very entertaining fight to improve her pro record to 3 wins, no losses with 2 knockouts. As an amateur, Kreps won the Golden Gloves in 2019, was #1 in the United States, and represented her country at the 2019 AIBA Women's World Championship, where she captured the bronze medal. Her opponent and the rest of the show will be announced in the coming days. Makia Kreps debuted as a professional boxer in 2020. Ideally, an unbeaten up-and-comer with less than 5 professional fights is oftentimes on a more busy schedule than Makia Kreps' schedule. She's been fighting once a year for the last 3 years. This is already a busier year for Makia than last year was. For a perspective, look at Skye Nicholson. She debuted as a professional this year, and she's already got 4 fights under her belt. 4 going on 5, as she is set to make her next in-the-ring appearance later on this year in Matchroom Promotions' debut in the Australian market. That's the difference between having major backing and not having major backing, where Makia Kreps has only fought 3 times in the last 3 years. Skye Nicholson has fought about 4 going on 5 times in just this one. That's not a knock on Makia, by the way. Everybody's journey's different. So ideally, when you are talking about prospects, blue chip prospects, and unbeaten up-and-comers, you want those prospects, those unbeaten up-and-comers, fighting several times a year in order to amass professional experience and get those rounds in the bank. Whereas Makia, she's only fought 3 times in the last 3 years, going on 4 in October. It's unfortunate because she's talented. The saving grace is that she's very young. She's only 26. So even though she has lost time to make up for, she has enough time to make up for it. She's still very young. Plenty of time in there to get some more fights in, some more experiences. Makia Kreps hovers around bantamweight. Bantamweight, that's 118 pounds. That's where Yuli Hangaluna holds the WBC. Jamie Mitchell's got the WBA title. Denmark's own Dina Thorsland, she's got the WBO, and Australia's own Ebony Bridges, newly crowned IBF champion. She's got the blue belt. She's got the IBF. This is a densely populated division. Makia Kreps' last fight was a bantamweight contest, and her next fight is a bantamweight contest against an opponent that has yet to be announced, and she has the good fortune of campaigning at or around this weight, bantamweight, which is a densely populated division, a densely populated weight class with a lot of opportunities to go around, especially since you have a major promoter in Matchroom with at least 2 or 3 prize stallions in that bantamweight show. And if she plays her cards right, fight by fight, and positions herself to fight for an alphabet title, who knows? I'll tell you something, there are a lot more possibilities out there now for a female fighter than there have been in previous years, especially at or around bantamweight, a densely populated division, a densely populated weight class. Makia Kreps is a fighter that we've talked about in passing here on the channel in previous videos, previous instances, one of Ring IQ's top prospects to watch. I don't know who she's going to be fighting, but I don't imagine it's going to be a killer. Not when Makia's only 3-0 as a professional. That really wouldn't make a lot of sense. She is still in the developmental stage of her career, the developmental phase, just getting rounds in the bank, getting experience, though she exhibits a very high ceiling, and because she's young, there are boundless opportunities. Educated boxer puncher with a decent-sized punch. She hits hard. At least at this level she does, and she's mean-spirited, somewhat spiteful. A great addition to the already deep talent pool at 118 pounds, just anywhere at or around that weight. This is the kind of fighter that could see themselves campaigning at bantamweight or super bantamweight. There's a lot of opportunity to go around. For now, she's coming back in October. Keep your eyes peeled for the ring return of Makia Kreps. Men's heavyweight news I'm sure most of you have heard by now, per tweet from Dan Raphael. Finally official, DAZN announces it will carry Usyk versus Joshua 2 on Saturday for subscribers in over 190 territories. Not via pay-per-view, just a regular subscription, including USA, Canada, Spain, Germany, Italy, Japan, and Poland, per DAZN. Main event, approximately 12 p.m. Eastern Time. DAZN is going to make a killing off this thing. Sky Sports is showing it as a pay-per-view in the United Kingdom, where a good concentration of Anthony Joshua's fans are, but in the rest of the world, for anybody that wants to tune in, they're going to have to subscribe to DAZN if they're not subscribed already. And in that way, it's almost a mini pay-per-view at the price. You know, somebody who maybe doesn't watch a whole lot of boxing, or maybe they watch boxing, they just don't watch every weight class, but they are familiar with the heavyweights. Somebody who maybe isn't all that interested in all of DAZN's content, but they're interested in that particular fight. At the price of a monthly subscription fee for that month. That's what they're going to have to pay to see this fight in 190 territories that I'd wager all have different monthly subscription fees. And a lot of these markets are boxing markets, like Canada, like Poland. There seems to have been a lot of confusion centered around who would show the fight outside of the United Kingdom, though I don't know why. Last month, Mike Coppinger tweeted DAZN had acquired the U.S. rights to Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua's heavyweight title rematch on August 20th, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they were auctioning off those rights. Here in America, ESPN tried to procure them, but they were beat out by DAZN, and it seems that most everyone was beat out by DAZN for the global rights to the fight outside of the United Kingdom, since DAZN will be the carrier, will be the distributor of the match. Mike Coppinger tweeted this late last month, approximately 3 weeks ago. And I guess a lot of people must have missed it because people were asking, is DAZN going to be the official carrier for the fight? Will that be where you can see the fight if you're here in America? And devoid of an official announcement, people were starting to wonder. Particulars in association with this match. Ahead of it, Alexander Usyk on Tyson Fury calling him a pumped-up middleweight. I want to laugh every time I watch him and listen to him. He told me completely different things to my face, but I'm not going to tell you what he told me. I know we are going to be fighting one day. Seems pretty confident ahead of this rematch. And why wouldn't he be? He's beaten Anthony Joshua before. A lot of people, they like his chances to beat him again in even better fashion in the second fight, in the rematch. And let's be honest, you don't become an undisputed cruiserweight champion and a heavyweight champion, a unified one, being unsure of yourself. So I'm not at all surprised to see that Alexander likes his chances, and he's briefly thinking of what happens beyond this rematch with Anthony Joshua, that he's confident he will get Tyson Fury in the ring, though whether or not he will, that's another matter entirely, because Tyson Fury's retired. He vacated his Ring Magazine title yesterday.
How's retirement doing you?
Retirement rocks. Really enjoying retirement, baby. I worked hard for this, so I'm enjoying every single moment. Peace out.
There's a lot of people out there, they don't think Tyson Fury's really retired. They think he's going to come back shortly after the outcome of Joshua versus Usyk 2 is decided, depending on who emerges the victor, whether it's Joshua or Usyk. A lot of people feel that Tyson Fury, he will return, he will fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. The WBC's president, Mauricio Suleiman, has declared that they've given Tyson Fury 2 weeks until August 26th to confirm his retirement in writing as a final decision. If he does this, they will then address the situation with the WBC's heavyweight world title, which we all know Deontay Wilder is still in line for, it being that the WBC has so accommodated him by ranking him as their #1 contender, even though he lost his last 2 fights. We've talked about how dubious all of that is. The likelihood, the probability of seeing the undisputed heavyweight championship contested is a little bit likelier, a little bit more probable if Tyson Fury returns. Because if if he gets his hands on that green belt, well, it's going to be over there on PBC Island, and only a limited number of fighters will be allowed to fight for it. Handpicks that his handlers.
You know, handpicks and other PBC guys, but as far as fighting Usyk, for example, I don't see Deontay Wilder doing that.
Now, if Anthony Joshua wins next weekend and he becomes a 3-time heavyweight champion, well, I'm sure that will give rise to the Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua conversation. I'm sure that conversation will pick up where it left off with all the same problems that it had before. Promotional problems, platform problems, who's going to cross the street.
What's the split? Who's the A side?
Now it goes. If Tyson Fury really is retired and he ends up vacating the green belt, vacating the WBC title, Deontay Wilder's likely to catch it. And when it does, we're right back where we left off.
We're back at square one. We will have gotten nowhere.
It's if Tyson Fury's really retired. Most people don't think he is, so you have to wonder if he's not really retired, then what's the point of all of this? What was the point of announcing 2 separate retirement stints since having fought Dillian Whyte? A lot of Tyson Fury's shenanigans, a lot of his antics are forgiven on the premise that he's being a showman, he's being a character.
He's so charismatic.
Contradictorian is what he is, sitting in a very expensive sports car claiming to be enjoying his retirement when he may not be retired. A guy who claims he doesn't care about money, but I'm pretty sure that sports car he's sitting in costed a lot of money. Tyson Fury's...
Like I said, a lot of this guy's shenanigans are often forgiven on the premise that he's being a showman.
That he's selling a fight, but the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, whether it's against Alexander Usyk or Anthony Joshua, it sells itself. It doesn't require anyone to put on this dog and pony show.
You ain't gotta announce a Derek Chisora fight or call out Thor Bjornsson or retire 2 times to sell that fight.
None of that stuff is necessary in order to sell the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. So the idea that all of these antics and all of these shenanigans from Tyson Fury are him selling that fight.
Should just cut the crap. The guy's a spastic and you clowns need to stop apologizing for it.
He's a scatterbrain attention whore doing whatever he can to try to steal both Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk's thunder. Haven't you noticed how vocal he's become as the fight date approaches? Announcement after announcement after announcement in order to funnel all the attention to him, even though he's talking about his retiring.
He announces he's fully retired, then he says he needs $500 million to come back.
Then at a speaking engagement in front of a bunch of bozos who actually paid to be there, he tells them that he wants to fight Anthony Joshua for free in the United Kingdom. He then resumes calling out Derek Chisora and Thor Bjornsson, then retires again,
vacates his Ring Magazine title while still hanging on to the WBC.
All these shenanigans and all these formalities when none of it is necessary. The fight's a week away. You don't have to make any big announcements. You just have to sit the fuck down and wait.
That's it. None of this is necessary, and none of it is conducive towards selling a fight because you don't need to do this to sell that fight.
The undisputed heavyweight title fight between Tyson Fury and the winner of this next weekend's fight, assuming he faces the winner. We still don't know because he's retired. And finally, just in keeping with the theme of big fights set to go down on DAZN, next month's big fight, Canelo versus Golovkin 3, Gennady Golovkin says, let's face it, I'm 40 years old and nearing my retirement.
Gennady was recently asked about his retirement, and he didn't express any plans to do so immediately after the Canelo-Alvarez fight.
The payday, I should say, the sweepstakes. That's how a fight with Canelo is treated these days. Canelo has promised to end Golovkin's career, to which Gennady Golovkin responded, I'm going to retire soon anyway, with his help or without his help. Let's face it, I'm 40 years old and nearing my retirement, Golovkin told The Sun. Golovkin and Canelo fought to a controversial 12-round split draw in 2017. A year later, Canelo won a very close 12-round majority decision in their heated rematch. Given the level of animosity in the third encounter, it's almost hard to believe that at one point the two boxers were on friendly terms and even sparred in 2011.
You know, resident PBC show Mark Ortega stated he thinks this pay-per-view is gonna bomb.
But take those comments with a pinch of salt, as this is a guy who's towing the company line after all. Given that Canelo Alvarez was able to do very well at the box office with an unknown guy in Caleb Plant, more recently an unknown guy in Dimitri Bivol, 800,000 pay-per-views sold with Caleb Plant on Showtime, a little over 600,000 sold with Dimitri Bivol.
He can do better than that with Gennady Golovkin, a more familiar face.
Especially especially within proximity of a Mexican holiday, which is customary for Canelo's fights, has been customary for some time. All things considered, I think this pay-per-view will do relatively well at the box office. It will be a big fight.
In spite of what resident company man Mark Ortega would have you believe.
And Canelo Alvarez's critics, along with the resident DAZN haters, for whatever reason, they've got a bone to pick with the DAZN platform, though I don't know why.
They've wanted DAZN to go bankrupt. They've wanted DAZN to fail since they debuted in the American market. Needless to say, that hasn't really worked out.
Case in point, you have two very big fights set to happen just a month apart in Joshua versus Usyk this upcoming weekend, and the following month, Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin 3. Bigger fights by far than any fight the PBC is set to put on this year. Bigger fights at the box office, what will be bigger fights at the gate, and that's just reality. That's what these guys are so mad about.
They're mad they got it wrong and they look fucking stupid 4 years later.
Still trying to spin narratives on their YouTube channels to make it seem as if they were onto something. Well, they weren't.
You said that the DAZN platform would never be able to draw top talent to it, and here we are.
Ahead of this Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo Alvarez trilogy, Gennady said, "We had very good sparring sessions back then. Those were exciting spars to watch," Golovkin explained. "We had a normal relationship, but he then felt too much of himself. He's now a big star, so the consequences of what was probably a side effect of him shooting to fame. I don't feel any hatred towards him. To me, he's just an athlete, another human being, just a boxer. I guess that's how he, as a human being, decided to behave, and decided to think of himself, love himself, and position himself."
I mean, listen, for Canelo, Gennady Golovkin has been a nuisance from the very beginning.
I've maintained for a long time that I think Canelo Alvarez is annoyed by Gennady Golovkin. He's annoyed by that entire period of his career when his stock was at an all-time low. A lot of people who felt that Canelo got lucky, they scored the fight a draw when really Gennady won it, the clenbuterol scandal, just all of it. It's all a sore spot for Canelo, and now that he's facing him for a third time, he's gonna really let him know what he thinks about him. Whereas for Gennady, the relationship with Canelo in this entire saga has been quite beneficial. He wasn't making that kind of money until he fought Canelo Alvarez, and even after he fought him 2 times. What DAZN paid out to bring Gennady over to their platform on the premise that there would be a third fight, even if it has taken all these years to deliver. Gennady made obscene amounts of money over all of this, so he's not going to have the same rancor when it comes to Canelo that Canelo has when it comes to him.
Oh, why would he? Fighting Canelo is financing his retirement fund. He knows that.
Even if he doesn't have a high opinion of Canelo Alvarez and he chooses to be diplomatic, even if underneath it all, he really doesn't like that guy.
Can't be too mad at him. Look at how much fucking money he stands to make from having fought him this many times.
Gennady has kept a steely reserve ahead of this trilogy, a steely reserve when it comes to this third Canelo Alvarez fight, though in truth, I don't think he has a high opinion of Canelo.
But I also don't think he has any illusions about the situation either. He said it himself. He's approaching retirement anyway.
So what better way to go out than making a fuck ton of money against your old buddy Canelo Alvarez, who has greatly altered the trajectory of your career, at least financially.
Ain't that the truth?